What if I told you the miracle you've been praying for is already moving toward you right now? Before your eyes open, before your feet touch the ground, heaven has already begun to work. Every sunrise is not just light in the sky. It's God whispering, I'm giving you another chance to believe. Maybe yesterday was heavy. Maybe your faith feels small. But listen closely. Even a whisper of prayer can shake the heavens when spoken from a heart that trusts. Today is not an accident. You didn't wake up by chance. You woke up because there's still purpose waiting to unfold. So take a breath. Speak life into your day. Invite His presence and watch how peace replaces fear, how hope rises again, and how miracles begin to move in silence. Because when you begin your morning with prayer, heaven begins its work through you. Every miracle begins long before it appears. What we call a miracle in the visible world is simply the result of something that was already alive in the unseen realm of belief. Before any healing, breakthrough, or restoration manifests, there is always a seed, the seed of trust, spoken in prayer, nurtured by hope and watered by perseverance. When we pray, we are not trying to convince God to act. We are aligning our hearts with His promises. The moment genuine faith rises in a person's spirit, something begins to shift in the unseen dimension. Heaven starts to respond, even if the earth hasn't yet caught up. The invisible always precedes the visible. Just as a tree grows silently beneath the soil before breaking through the ground, every answer to prayer is first formed in the realm we cannot see. This is why doubt is so dangerous. It uproots the seed before it can sprout. Many people stop believing because they cannot see progress, but in truth, the greatest changes often happen in silence. The believer who prays and continues to thank God even when nothing seems different is the one who understands how divine processes work. Faith transforms prayer from words into power. When you pray with conviction, you declare that God's reality is more reliable than your circumstances. You stop describing what you see and you begin to speak what you believe. And when those words leave your mouth, the atmosphere begins to respond. Angels are set in motion, doors begin to open, and hearts begin to change. Sometimes without you realizing it, miracles are not coincidences. They are divine responses to consistent faith. They may not arrive when we expect them, but they always come right on time. The unseen hand of God is never still. It is always working for those who trust Him. So when you pray, believe that something is already happening. Even if your eyes see no movement, your spirit must know that heaven is alive with activity on your behalf. That invisible assurance, that quiet, unshakable trust, is where every visible miracle begins. Prayer is more than words spoken into the air. It is the sacred exchange between the Creator and His creation. It is where human weakness meets divine strength, where confusion meets clarity, and where impossibility bows to the will of God. Through prayer, our spirits learn to speak the language of heaven, a language built not on grammar or tone, but on trust and surrender. When a person truly prays, something eternal happens. The soul finds its way back to its source. The noise of the world fades, and the still small voice of the Spirit becomes clear. Prayer doesn't just change situations. It transforms the one who prays. It softens hardened hearts, heals wounded emotions, and renews weary minds. Every time you bow your head, you're not just asking, you're aligning. You are stepping into God's rhythm, into His divine frequency of grace and purpose. In the unseen world, prayer is a force that moves mountains and reshapes destinies. It carries weight. It commands attention in the spiritual realm because it's not merely communication, it's connection. The moment you begin to pray with sincerity, heaven listens. Angels are dispatched. The Spirit begins to intercede on your behalf, even in ways beyond your understanding. But the power of prayer is not found in eloquence. It's found in faith. The quiet whisper of a heart that believes can shake the foundations of despair more than 1,000 loud cries without trust. God listens not to the length of your prayer, but to the depth of your heart. Even a single word, help, when spoken with belief, becomes a command that heaven cannot ignore. Prayer gives strength to the weak and courage to the fearful. It draws light into darkness and peace into storms. The more you pray, the more your spirit begins to understand that true power is not control, but surrender. The moment when you stop trying to force outcomes and begin to rest in God's timing. When you live a life of prayer, you carry heaven's language in your heart. Every breath becomes communion. Every word becomes worship. And in that sacred connection, miracles no longer feel distant. They become a daily reality. Every new morning is not merely the beginning of another day. It is a divine invitation. The rising sun is heaven's gentle reminder that God has given you another chance. A fresh page to write your story with faith, gratitude, and obedience. The morning carries a sacred silence, a calm that precedes the noise of the world. In that stillness, the voice of God becomes clearer, and your spirit finds strength for the battles that lie ahead. When the world still sleeps, heaven listens. The early hours are not ordinary. They are holy moments filled with potential. Those who rise early to pray are not just starting their day, they are setting the course for everything that follows. The first words you speak in the morning shape the atmosphere of your day. If you begin with worry, your mind will be heavy, but if you begin with worship, your heart will be light. Morning prayer is like tuning an instrument before a performance. It brings your heart, mind, and spirit into harmony with heaven's melody. It clears the confusion, restores your peace, and awakens your faith. Before you face people, problems, or plans, you first face God. And when you do, His presence covers you like armor. There is a spiritual law hidden in the rhythm of sunrise. What you sow in the early hours, you will reap throughout the day. When you offer your morning to God, He blesses your steps, orders your decisions, and multiplies your strength. Even the smallest prayer uttered in the morning carries a fragrance that lasts all day. The morning is also a place of renewal. Yesterday's mistakes, disappointments, and failures fade under the warmth of a new dawn. God's mercies are new every morning because He knows we need them daily. Each sunrise whispers, "You can begin again." So when you wake, don't rush into the world's noise. Pause, breathe, lift your heart and speak to the one who gave you this day. Let your first conversatio end be with heaven. And you will find that throughout the day, heaven continues the conversation with you. Nothing truly miraculous happens without the breath of God's Spirit. Every healing, every breakthrough, every moment when the impossible becomes possible, all of it begins when the Spirit moves. From the beginning of creation, when the earth was empty and dark, it was the Spirit who hovered over the waters, preparing life to emerge. That same Spirit still moves today, not just in the heavens, but within every heart that believes. When a person opens their soul in prayer, it is the Spirit who draws near. He is not distant or silent. He is gentle, like a whisper that brings peace to confusion and light to despair. The Spirit is the unseen power behind every answered prayer. While our words rise upward, His presence descends downward, touching, healing, guiding, and restoring. He turns human weakness into divine strength and takes what is ordinary, filling it with eternal purpose. Miracles are not the result of human effort or emotion. They are born when the Spirit breathes upon a situation. What seems lifeless begins to live again. What seems broken is made whole. The Spirit does not operate according to time or logic. He works according to faith. And wherever He is welcome, transformation becomes inevitable. Many people seek miracles but overlook the one who performs them. They chase blessings but miss the blesser. The Spirit is not a force to be used, He is a person to be known, a loving companion who longs to dwell within us, to empower us from the inside out. When you live in communion with Him, miracles cease to be rare, they become your atmosphere. When the Spirit fills a believer's heart, worry gives way to peace, fear gives way to courage, and sorrow gives way to joy. You begin to walk not by sight, but by divine leading. The Spirit whispers when to wait, when to move, and when to simply trust. Every great revival, every healing, every story of fire, all began with His movement. So when you pray, invite His presence. Let Him take over your heart, your plans, and your day. Because when He comes, everything changes. And that change is the true miracle. Your words are not empty sounds, they are seeds of creation. Every sentence you speak carries power. To build or to break, to heal or to harm, to open doors or to close them. From the beginning of time, God demonstrated this truth. He spoke, and light appeared. He declared, and worlds were formed. In the same image, we have been given a voice capable of shaping reality when aligned with faith. Each morning, when you open your mouth, you are setting the direction of your day. Words spoken in fear invite confusion. Words spoken in faith invite divine order. If you declare defeat, you strengthen it. But if you declare victory, heaven begins to move on your behalf. The atmosphere listens when a heart full of belief begins to speak. That's why prayer is not just communication. It is creation. Many people underestimate the influence of their own declarations. They wake up speaking complaints and wonder why their days are heavy. But the secret to spiritual authority lies in your confession. When you choose to speak words of hope, peace, and blessing, you are not denying reality. You are inviting a higher one. You are giving God permission to work through your voice. Your words have the ability to shift environments. A single sentence of encouragement can bring light into someone's darkness. A quiet, "I believe," in the midst of pain can summon strength you didn't know you had. Even when your circumstances seem unchanged, your words can create the foundation for what's coming. The moment you align your speech with faith, the unseen world begins to rearrange itself to match your declaration. So guard your mouth like a sacred instrument. Don't speak defeat over what God is still forming. Don't let negativity dictate the melody of your morning. Instead, rise each day. Rise and proclaim life over your home, your mind, your work, and your future. When you speak with conviction, your voice becomes an echo of heaven's promises. The day begins to obey your faith-filled words. And as you continue to speak life, you'll find that what once seemed impossible slowly takes shape before your eyes. Because your words, when rooted in faith, carry the creative power of miracles. Gratitude is more than a polite expression. It is a spiritual key that unlocks the flow of divine favor. When a heart chooses to give thanks, not only for what it has, but even for what it awaits, something shifts in the unseen realm. Thankfulness realigns your focus from what is missing to what has already been given. It lifts your perspective from the problem to the provider. Many people pray for blessings but forget that gratitude itself is a magnet for miracles. A thankful heart creates an atmosphere where God delights to dwell. It tells heaven, "I trust you even before I see the come." Gratitude turns waiting into worship and delays into preparation. When you learn to thank God in all circumstances, you begin to see how even your trials are threads in a larger, beautiful design. The ungrateful heart complains about what it doesn't have. The grateful heart multiplies what it already holds. Every time you choose gratitude, you open a door for more of God's goodness to enter. It is the posture that invites increase, not because you are demanding more, but because you are already content in His presence. God pours His favor where joy and thankfulness abound. Gratitude also protects the soul. It keeps bitterness, fear, and pride from taking root. It reminds you that every breath, every sunrise, every answered prayer is a gift. When you wake up and whisper, "Thank you," you begin your day surrounded by grace. Even in seasons of struggle, gratitude transforms pain into purpose. It gives you eyes to see that what looks like loss might actually be preparation for greater blessing. A grateful person doesn't wait for everything to be perfect before rejoicing. They celebrate the small things: a quiet moment of peace, a friend's kindness, a door that stayed closed because it wasn't meant for them. Gratitude keeps the heart soft and the spirit open to receive. When you live with thankfulness, you live under an open heaven. Miracles begin to follow naturally because your heart is already positioned in alignment with God's will. Gratitude doesn't just acknowledge blessings, it multiplies them. It transforms ordinary days into sacred ones and turns simple prayers into songs of joy. Dear friend, as you finish listening to these words, remember this: every prayer you whisper today carries eternal weight. The same God who breathed life into creation is listening to your voice right now. Nothing is too small for His attention, and nothing is too big for His power. This morning, choose to believe that heaven is already at work. Choose to speak with faith, to live with gratitude, and to invite the Holy Spirit to walk beside you in every step. When you do, the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and what once seemed impossible becomes the stage for a miracle. You don't need to have it all figured out. You only need to trust the one who does. Let your heart rest in His presence, and let your words declare His promises. Today is not just another day. It's a divine opportunity to see God's hand move in your life. The miracle you've been waiting for may already be unfolding, quietly, beautifully, right where you are. So go into this day with courage, pray with confidence, believe with boldness, and as you do, watch how peace replaces worry, how strength rises where weakness once lived, and how blessings begin to follow wherever you go. This message fill your heart with renewed faith and calm assurance that you are not walking alone. Whatever today holds, may God's grace cover you, His light guide you, and His favor rest upon everything. Yonggi Cho. Thank you for listening with an open heart. Thank you for believing when it's easier to doubt. And thank you for carrying hope into a world that desperately needs it. Go in peace, walk in faith, and expect miracles. Because when you begin your day with prayer, heaven begins its work through you.